Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh no! Anytime someone says her name, everyone there must go like, "Oh shit! Oh god, it's her turn. Oh no!" It's got to be that way, right? Even Fauci, he's like, "Oh shit!" So this is Fauci. Maybe you've heard of him, Dr. Fauci. A lot of people think he's really a bad person. I don't know. I mean, I think he's the evil person, but that's because of very different reasons than other people. And let me see if you know, if you can kind of suss out why I think he's an evil person. Most people, they don't talk about this. I want to see if you can get what I'm thinking of.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Fauci, you were quoted on CBS Face the Nation saying it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr.
I love. Do you represent science? Now, this is a wonderful question. I wonder. This is an interesting. She starts out. I hate her too. I hate both of these people. Now, I want to know. Do you represent science, sir? Is this, or do you represent science? It's science. She means science. For some reason, people where she's from, they like to put extra syllables in words and then take other syllables out of words that already have enough syllables. So it's like science, right? Science. But she says science. But if she said something like mouse, she'd go myos, myos. But a word that already has the word like science, she'll say science. All right, let's keep going.
Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
No, she's got
yes
it.
Or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting.
Oh, a dog lover. As a dog lover, she's going vegan, guys. Marjorie Taylor's going vegan. She hates the fact that animals are tortured to death in scientific experiments that purportedly are going to save millions, maybe billions of human lives. It's not a utilitarian trade-off that someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has the lodestar of morality, she is the lodestar of morality. She is the light in the sky by which we might navigate our moral ships. Marjorie Taylor Greene. So as you can see, she is fed up. She is not willing to accept the torture of beagles. Forget about the fact that these beagles were bred for this purpose. This is why beagles exist. We bred them for this. They're docile, they're small, easy to handle, and their lungs are similar to ours, they say. So testing various things into their lungs makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And they say, in the name of science, that they're going to save millions of lives. Millions of lives. Can you believe it? What do you think? Do you think Marjorie Taylor's right?
And evil, what
Evil.
you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know, Americans.
Ooh, American taxpayer. You know that American taxpayers pay about $16 billion a year. Billions, $16 billion a year of our taxpayer money are going to animal experiments via the National Institutes of Health, a body who is controlled in part by people like her. She controls the NIH. They have to approve the money to go to these types of experiments. So all of the primate research centers in places like Davis, California, where they have got upwards of 6,000 monkeys, lots of which have been sold to people like Elon Musk and other industrialists in order to turn a buck in the name of science. All universities all around America who are testing on dogs and cats regularly. Dogs and cats, though, are the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have monkeys, we have all the rats, all the fish that we test on. Basically, if you can think of a species of animal, we are testing random shit on them. I recently ran onto Fenway Park in order to confront an animal abusing chancellor of University of Massachusetts who continuously just signs off on the idea that it's perfectly acceptable to test the effects of menopause on the cognitive abilities of monkeys. How would you do that since monkeys don't experience menopause? Marmosets don't experience menopause. So the way they do it, they deprive them of food and water to make them want to do tricks for them. And then they rip out their uterus or give them estrogen blockers and then tape hand warmers to their bodies so that they experience something that's similar to a hot flash of a human woman. And then they force them to do little tricks to see if they can do it for food and water. And that's an acceptable science. That's science for you. That's science. That's science at the University of Massachusetts. I wonder if Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be an ally of those monkeys. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to be an ally? I'm a monkey lover as much as she's a dog lover. After all, monkeys are very much like dogs. Quadrupedal tailed animals who look very cute. They're docile and sweet. They're smart, just like a dog. Monkeys and dogs are actually, monkeys look more like us, but they're basically just they're a lot like dogs. They got a lot like dogs. Anyway, she's right. Don't you think? Marjorie Taylor Greene, 100% correct. Marjorie Taylor Greene going vegan. She's going to become a member of PETA. You watch.
Don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this.
Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. See, this is where I get a little upset because yes, we do. Yes, we do. $16 billion a year, 120 million animals dying in American labs every year at the tune of $16 billion for the pleasure. Oh, but Sky, what about all the medication that comes from all of this? Well, 98% failure in human trials. When you test on animals, it doesn't translate to humans. If you test penicillin on animals, they die. If you test chocolate on animals, they die. If you test aspirin on animals, they die. It turns out we're very different than most of the species when it comes to medication. So there you go. You know what else you know what they used to test on beagles? Cigarette smoke. Wasn't causing them cancer. And it wasn't causing them cancer. It's perfectly acceptable. Let's pump them in. Let's put their heads in these things and fill them up with cigarette smoke. Makes perfect sense.
So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent. And it needs to stop.
I couldn't
Mr.
agree.
Fauci?
I couldn't agree more, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know what? I need to write a letter to Marjorie Taylor Greene and ask her, let's do it. Let's do it, Marjorie. You know what? Politics makes for strange bedfellows. And let me tell you, here's an example. When I tell you that, the liberals are not the only ones. People like, only left-wing people are vegan. Not true. She's talking vegan. She's vegan. Marjorie Taylor Greene's going vegan, everybody. You're right. Yes. Unbelievable.
You also represent the type of science where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and
Made up. Where'd she get? Oh, the Daily Mail. She got this from the Daily Mail. She's so interesting. She gets these little printouts. She has some staffer print these out and she holds them up for people. Now you did this. Look right here. Here's something that I read in the newspaper. Well, look, he's right here. Ask him. She's not, but she's got a point about this dog thing, right? She's a dog lover after all, Marjorie Taylor Greene is speaking up for the animals. She's holding him to task. How do we stray away from animal testing? Well, unfortunately, it has to do with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We need them to stop funding animal testing through the NIH and instead fund human relevant and modern methods of experimentation, namely organs on chips, stem cell research. We have tons of AI capabilities at this point, but those things don't necessarily get funded the way animal testing gets funded. Animal testing gets a lot of money because there's a lot of money in it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people getting their beaks wet when it comes to animal testing. Someone's got to buy the animal, someone's got to transport the animal, someone's got to feed the animal. There's all these people who have to be around the animal, to be looking at after the animal. It's a whole thing. It's a big deal. It takes a lot, and there's whole facilities that will be built on college campuses with that money. And they like having that money. They like that money very much. Thank you. They love it. So it's the money. It's the money. So the way we do it, it's not donors, unfortunately. How do you get the cells? Stem cells? Stem cells are mostly out of in vitro fertilization embryos that are unused. It's often what they're used for. Stem cells, though, have been cloned over time, and they're pretty common this time. They're pretty commonplace. But stem cells, like embryonic cells and things like this, you can usually get at this point fairly easily, and you can test most things on them, but not everything. Some things you'll have to do with the AI, and then finally you'll do it with. But you could do human cells all along the way: organs on chips, embryonic cells, and finally microdosing in humans, and then full human trials. That's how they would do it. You just take out the animal part, basically, and replace it with a technological solution that we've had for over 20 years now. So, yes, it seems like we can already do it. Some people are already doing it, actually.
Masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up as
say
you went.
I made it up. I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking?
Oh, what does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do. It means that everything that you say is suspect after that because you're an animal abuser. That's why. Why don't you get that, Fauci? That seems like so fucking easy to understand. Everything you say, some people think you're a genius. Some people think you cured AIDS. But you know what? No one can really believe what the fuck you're saying because you're an animal abuser. Animal abusers are total losers. There's no excuse for animal abuse. No one can believe you. No one can. You have no leg to stand on, morally speaking, because you abuse animals.
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on.
Look at this guy laughing in the background. I always love people.
But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks. But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that you represent.
Science.
NIH scientists made that.
Oh, wow. She's bringing up the NIH in the form of a post by the New York Post, which is not a reliable source. But the NIH is fucking evil. The NIH, National Institutes of Health in America, are who is funding the animal research. That's who does it, the NIH. How do we stop it? Marjorie Taylor could stop it today. She could stop it. She could stop it like that. Yes.
$10 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and dollars?
So this is something really interesting, okay? So she's totally right, but she's so stupid she doesn't even know it. She's onto it. She's so interested in conspiracy theories and like trying to find out who she hates him already she came into this hating Fauci. She finds out this dog thing and she's like, oh, I hate him even more. She finds out that doctors are with the NIH money, through taxpayer money, are taking out patents to enrich themselves, even though you and I paid for it. So even when something does come out of these animal tests, those patents go to the individual doctors or to the universities. It's quite common to go to the universities. They end up making millions of dollars off of their patents that you and I paid for. She's right. But she doesn't know anything. She can't understand that the original sin was the animal. She's so close. But she's just like, she's missing it. Man, Marjorie Taylor Greene, just go vegan. Let it be your guide. Let that be your lodestar.
Especially when the NIH and these government agencies, most powerful agencies in our country, are recommending medical suggestions and advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes.
She's straight up just, you're not a doctor in my eyes. Later on, another guy will be like, nah, he is a doctor. You're not allowed to do that. He went to school. You can't just call him Mr. He's a doctor. How dare you?
No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here. I reclaim my time. She's
reclaiming her time. Anyway, that's it. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going vegan, ladies and gentlemen. She sees the conspiratorial nature of the NIH. She sees that Dr. Fauci is an animal abuser. Do you think that she's going to look a little deeper in it? Maybe if she scratches a little bit more, she'll finally get the answers she's looking for. What do you think? Marjorie Taylor Greene's going vegan, everybody. Awesome. Well, that's all we're not gonna watch the whole thing.
My time, Mr. Raskin.
Mr. Chairman, of order. Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor?
Are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor? I don't know. Most of you people deny that evolution happened. So, I mean, most of you are climate science deniers. So, I mean, you deny that he's a doctor. Who cares? There's no rules in Congress. Everything's just a joke now. Everything's been